continue on to where I was at. That was an A, what I just gave you, but we're going to do a complete section. So this is a B. B starts probably from right here and it'll work back. So what I'm looking at right here, when I do a B, I check my mirror to make sure we're properly secured. I also check out here on this side to make sure that this light here, it's a running light, it's a clearance light for my mirror that they can see coming down, and I make sure it's properly working, it's cracked, and it is amber. All the lights up here on the top, up here also, all these, all on the side, along with this clearance lamp right here. It is a clearance lamp, a turn signal, and an emergency flasher. They are all amber. They all have to be amber. And what I'm looking at when I get through here, I come across here, I look at my mirror, my vent window, and my driver's side window. And what I'm looking for is cracks, damages, or illegal stickers, illegal tint that does not need to be on here. I'm also looking at my mirror, my West Coast mirror, and I'm also looking at my convex mirror. These two mirrors are the main important things when you're sitting and seeing and going down. You have to have them properly adjusted, and I'll explain more about that later. But when I get down through here, what I'm looking at, once I get this part done, I grab my door, I open it. I like to make sure that it works. The latch is working, it's secure. But when I do that, I also come in here and I look at my hinges right here to make sure that they're properly secured to the frame of the truck, that there's no illegal cracks and they're not broke, and that the nuts and bolts are always where they belong. I also look right here at my weather stripping. I'm looking at the weather stripping for noise and for water to get off inside. Now that I know that that's all clear and safe, what I start is I start looking underneath here. I start looking at my frame. I start looking at where all the nuts and the bolts are at. I make sure that they're all properly secured. I see right here, I come down. This is part of my air system where the air line goes down to service brakes and to things of that sort to get air to them. Right here, this is my fuel tank on the top. As you can see right here, this right here, as you can see, I got a strap right here. I got a strap right here, and I have a strap right here. Now, all three of these straps, if you will look right here, they're properly mounted to this frame. They're properly bolted right here, and this is what I'm looking for, that they're all properly mounted, bolted, and there's nothing missing. I'm looking up here also to make sure. But what I do also on these three straps, this holds my fuel tank up, but it also holds my steps. And what I do is I get on my steps, and I make sure that they're properly secured and that they're not going anywhere, that I can still hold my weight and go on. And I'm looking on the top of my fuel tank to make sure there's no cracks, there's no dents, there's no intrusions in it, because if there was, then I'd be losing fuel. And when I look at all that through this frame, I make sure there's no illegal cracks or illegal welds or any dents, any dents or bumps, whatever you want to call them, they're just there. And what I also look for once I do my steps, I look underneath to make sure I see no leaks up underneath here and that they're all secured and there's nothing down here. You have to look not just the top, but you got to look at the bottom too to make sure they're all there, and if there is a rubber around the metal, you can see that it's sitting underneath. The next thing I do before I go, I take off my fuel cap. My fuel cap has a rubber grommet on the inside, as you can see, and it has to have no cracks, damages, and it does not need to be dry rotted, because then you can lose a lot of fuel that way. But I also check the little safety chain. I do it two ways. I tap it or I leave it hanging so that so I know that if it comes off, it's not going anywhere. I still have my lid. I put this back. Okay, I'll secure it. What I do now is I look on this side of my cab. I look at everything. I look at this window right here also to make sure there's no cracks, damages. And I come down to make sure my door's secure, that it's properly sealed. I come back here. When I come back here, I look all up inside. What I look for here on the inside is I'm looking up here. This is called DOT tape. It has to be on here, and it is in the proper color. It is the white color is what it has to be on the top. It cannot be red. It has to be white. While I'm looking back here also is I'm looking for any intrusions, any holes, anything to that effect in the back of my tractor. I'm also looking at my slide bar. This is the slide bar. As you can see the spring hanging right here. What this spring is for right here is for my emergency line, my service line, and my electric line. And what I'm doing is making sure what this is for when I turn corners, it keeps it safe to where it stretches out and it keeps, but it also keeps it up off my catwalk, because I'll explain a little bit more about that in a second. But what I'm also looking at, these are work lights. I'm making sure they're properly sealed, that they're not cracked or damaged. And I'm looking to make sure this is a bracket right here that is held on, to hold up. As you can see, the wires, the way we have it through. Here's another bracket that we have right here. This is for the glad hands and the electrical lines. When you store them in your disposal, that's what these are for. You have a place right here that you put them in, that you store them. What I'm also looking at right here is my airline. This is my emergency. The red is my emergency, and the blue is my service. And I'm looking right here to make sure these airlines are properly secured. There's no audible air leaks, and there's no cuts, damages, or abrasions in them. And as you can see right here, this comes down. The airline goes down. This goes to my air compressor. These right here are my primary and secondary air tanks. This is where my air is. My air compressor works, and what this does is they have a governor cutoff valve on these tanks that pops off between 120 and 140 psi pressure to keep the truck in safe operating condition, because with that 120 and 140, if it just kept going, then the tanks would blow up. So what I'm doing is I'm looking for my airlines right here, and I'm just checking to make sure there's no cracks or damages, and I'm looking off up in here. Well, while I'm up in here, I'm looking at my frame on both sides. I'm looking at my frame on both sides. I can see my airlines going up. I see electrical, and I see all on this side. And I'm looking on both sides of my frames to make sure that everything is proper. There's no bolts missing, there's no nuts missing, and there's not anything missing. What I have right here, this is an air ride cab. These are the little air shocks on. And as you can see, the little airbags are solid, they're good. You can see the airlines right here coming up. And you can see the airline right here. They're in good working order and they're safe. These here just make the cab ride safe going down the road, but I have to check them, make sure they're not dry rotted. But what I also check on them is to make sure they're properly bolted to the frame on both sides and there's no nuts or bolts missing. This here bracket right here, as you can see, this bracket is properly bolted, and as you follow this bracket, this piece going all the way up and over, it's going to my exhaust system on the other side. As you can see coming down, this is the main bracket for holding the weight of the exhaust, the muffler and all. And as you can see, it's properly bolted and mounted on this side. And what I'm looking for even on these, on this little airbag over here, I'm looking for all bolts to be secured. And what I'm looking on this is in my exhaust system. And what we have up here is clamps. You can see the clamps around here. You can see the clamp right here. You just get down and look and you follow it, and you see a clamp in here, and it goes through. What I'm looking for is to make sure there is no black soot. Black soot means that you have a leak going on in your exhaust system. And what I'm looking to make sure is that I have no black soot anywhere on my system, and as I come around and check things out. Now, another thing I'm looking at when I come back through here, this is a drive shaft. These drive shafts are not a single solid piece. This drive shaft comes back to this carrier bearing right here, which is properly bolted to this cross member, which is properly bolted to the frame on both sides. No nuts or bolts are missing. And as you can see, the carrier bearing is right here. It's holding the U-joints. So what I do is I look at the U-joints in here on both sides to make sure they're properly greased and they're not loose and they're in good shape. What I also do is when I come down is I look on the frame on both sides. I'm looking always on both sides for my frame. And as I get to this part right here, this is my catwalk. My catwalk is simply, it is solid and it is secure. It's properly bolted to the frame. It is there so that if I have to use my steps right here, that are properly secured and bolted, you can see right here it's properly bolted. If I have to use these steps, then I have a catwalk that I can get up here and be safe. And sometimes I can get up here and take my airlines off. What I'm doing right here, as you can see, my spring is holding my airlines. And what I told you, the airlines start right here. Well, this right here is where the electrical starts. And what I'd do is I'd take this out, I'd look inside, and I'd make sure that there's no cracks and there's no debris or anything inside. I'd also look inside here for there's pins. There's pins that there's a slot that this goes into. There's pins that it goes in. That's how we get lights and all to the back. So I check all this up through here, but what this is also for, the spring, as you can see, it keeps it safely off the catwalk. Now this here is just a mid fender. The mid fender is sitting here that is properly bolted to what we call a bracket, a mounting bracket right here. Now this mounting bracket right here, I'm looking that it's properly secured to the frame, that all nuts and bolts are properly secured. What this mounting bracket is for, this is for a control arm. This is an air ride system back here. This is not leaf springs, this is a control arm. And what I'm looking right here, there are U-bolts right here on this control arm right here. As you can see, I'm looking at these U-bolts right here for this control arm and it to be in a shape. I'm making sure that it's all properly secured, nothing missing. And I'm also making sure that this control arm has no cracks, no damages, and no illegal welds. Now when I come back down through here, I'm looking, here is my air brake chamber. Now this air brake chamber has two air lines, not like the steer, but this has two air lines. One's a service and one is an emergency. And what I'm looking for on this is I can see that it's coming in. As I told you, this tractor is a disc brake setup. The service brake will do just what this caliper does, like it did on the front. When I step on my service brake, the caliper works and it squishes the disc pads, the disc brake pads to the rotor. And when the rotor, what would be looking for, the rotor, I'd be looking for cuts, damages, or cracks, and I'd be looking for that to be. I'd also want to make sure that it's there. So while I'm also looking right here at that, what I would do is I'd come right here on my control arm, as this is the front drive axle. This right here on this front drive axle, what I'm looking for, this is my torque arm. My torque arm I can see is properly mounted and bolted right here on the side of the frame with no illegal welds. And if you look on the top of this front drive axle, you can see that the bolts are all secured. Their eye bolts are there. It's properly secured to the top of this front drive axle. And also while I'm here, I can see this back U-joint right here to make sure that it is in proper working order and that this cross member right here is in place. Now what I'm also looking for in this front differential is I'm looking for cracks, I'm looking for leaks, I'm looking up and underneath the whole thing. And what holds this into place is my U-bolts. You can see my control arm right here. This is my control arm as it comes back all the way through. You can see my airbag, it comes up underneath. And there's a bolt underneath my airbag right here that's properly secured. And as you can see, my airbag is properly secured right here to the top of the frame. As you can see right here that it is all properly secured. And I'll look at the back when I get ready to come to the back to see it better. I'll look to make sure my airbag's in good shape. But what I'm looking at here is, as you can see, here's another hydraulic shock. This hydraulic shock is properly bolted and mounted to this frame with no illegal welds. As you can see, the bolts are in. The hydraulic shock's here. As you can see right down here on my above my control arm, you can see the frame, the eye bolt through my shock is right here. I'm looking for fluid leaking. Since this is a hydraulic shock, I'm looking for fluid to be leaking. And I see none, so I know that it is in good shape. But when I come across here, and I come back, before I come out, what I look for on this is I look down here in the inside. I look to make sure all the brake apparatus and all is working, but I'm looking in my rim right here right now. And what I'm looking for in my rim is any cracks, any damage, or any illegal welds on this. What I'm also looking on this tire is I'm looking on the outside of this tire to make sure, and the bead right here, that the bead is properly sealed to the rim. This tire bead is properly sealed to the rim of this, to my rim right here. I'm also looking on the inside of my inside tire all the way around. I'm looking for abrasions, bumps, cuts, or bubbles. I'm looking also to make sure that it's proper. When I come across the top of my tire, I'm also looking for these tires to make sure they can have no less than 2/32 air back here. Now these tires are on the drive axle. These, just as on a trailer, they can have no less than 2/32, but they can also be retreads, recapped, or re-grooves, and it is legal. But while I'm also in this side section right here, what I'm doing, I come to the outside of this inside tire right here, and I'm looking for the same thing that I looked on the inside. I'm looking for any bubbles, any breaks, any damage, any cracks, but I'm also looking to make sure that this tire is properly sealed and the bead is properly sealed to the rim. These rims are called, I call them duals, some people call them bud spacers. What they are properly butted together. As you can see, there's no daylight in between right here, and that's what I'm looking for. To me, that tells me they're safe. But while I'm on the inside looking at the outside of this rim right here, and the inside of this rim on the outside rim, I'm looking for cracks, damages, or illegal welds. And I can also see my valve stem right here. I'm looking to make sure it's got a cap and it's properly. Now I'll look also on the bead of the inside of the outside tire. I'm looking at this bead. After I looked at my rim to make sure it's fine, I'm making sure this tire is properly, the bead is properly sealed. I look for abrasion, bumps, and bubbles on this side. I checked up here to make sure there's 232nd. I come right here and I come all the way around to make sure there's no abrasion bumps or cuts on this tire. And you can see right here tells you that this is a refit. You can learn right here this is what it is. And all that means is this tire's been they sent it back in, they grooved it down, they've got it, they put a new tread back on it, they stretched it, and they tightened and they glued it back down. So that's why they call them retreads, recaps, and re-grooves. But what I'm looking for now is I'm looking to make sure that the bead of this tire on the outside is properly sealed to my rim. I'm also looking on my rim out here to make sure there's no cracks, no illegal welds on it. I'm also going to check all my lug nuts all the way around. And what I do for my lug nuts on this is I'm looking for shiny metal or I'm looking for rust. The shiny metal means that the lug nut's loose, rust means that it's wore out and it's watered from the inside. What I'm also looking for right here is my wheel seal. I see my wheel seal. This is just called a moon cap, is all this is. It's decorative. But my wheel seal is right here and I'm looking for oil to be slinging as to make sure that it's not. Here's my other valve stem right here that I look for no cracks or damages. And I'm looking, and these tires can have no less than 100 PSI in them. Now when like I told you, come back here, now I'm looking at my airbag right here. I'm making sure there's no rot, no cuts, no abrasions, no bumps. Also, like I told you, there's a nut up underneath here, right here, that I want to make sure that it's properly tightened and secured. So that takes care of this. This is another control arm mount. This is for my rear differential. It's the same thing. I'd be looking for the same thing here that I'm looking for up here. Now when I come back here, what I'm looking for, I look at my mud flap to make sure it's properly secured. It's properly secured in the proper distance off the ground of 8 inches. When I come up underneath here, what I'm looking for up underneath here is I'm looking to see right here, this is my rear differential torque arm. I'm making sure that it's properly secured and properly mounted, bolted, and there's nothing missing. And on the top of this rear differential, I'm seeing right here that it's properly secured. And what I can also see is my drive axle up here from the front to the rear. And I look for all my U-joints on these to make sure that they're proper. And what I'm doing on this one, just like the front drive axle, I'm looking for any cracks or damages. I'm looking for any leaks. I'm looking for any illegal welds that don't need to be there. As I come back, like I say, that's my torque arm. What I'm looking back here now, this is my rear lights right here. As you can see, they're red. The part is red for my brakes, my turns, and my hazard. The white part is for when I back up. When you put it in reverse, the white lights shine. Another thing that I'm looking for right here, this is the apron of my trailer. I have to check and make sure that the apron of this trailer and the fifth wheel skid plate, there's no daylight, so that it is properly sitting and it's properly secured, and I'll show that on the side. What you see up in here is called a locking jaw. This locking jaw I can see is securely greased and it's closed, and it's properly around the kingpin which holds this trailer on top of this fifth wheel that you can pull going up and down the road. And I look for any daylight and I make sure it's properly greased. Now I'm going to come out here, and while I'm back here, I'm also looking all the way back by cross member. I'm looking for any illegal welds or on any airlines or any system. I'm looking at all my hoses to make sure there's no cuts, damages, cracks, or abrasions. When I come out here, I'm going to come on over to this part right here. This part, like I said, this is my apron that I showed right here, but it is properly bolted to the bottom of this tank. And as you can see, each bolt is properly secured. There's no nuts missing, no bolts missing. And this is my apron. This apron is sitting on top of my fifth wheel skid plate. My fifth wheel skid plate is right here sitting on top of a platform. This platform and my fifth wheel skid plate are properly secured together with this platform pin on this side and the opposite side with the carter keys in it. And what I'm looking right here is for this platform is sitting in a carriage. As you can see, the carriage right here, all the bolts are properly secured. There's none missing. They're all in the place. They're all tight like they're supposed to be on the top and on the side of this frame that has no illegal welds or cracks. This is my release arm. This means, what the release arm means is when, if I want to drop this trailer, I would dolly the trailer down. I would pull this out, because right now it's in a locked position. I'd pull it out, that would release it. Once I remove my air lines and my electrical lines and my dollies were down, then I could pull forward. This is called a sliding fifth wheel. This fifth wheel, as you can see right here, are pins. These are locking pins, and these pins are locked in place due to the fact it is an air system. And there's a little air cylinder right here that operates it. There is a button inside. What I do is push a button, and this air system, air cylinder would work, which would pull these locking pins out. I would move my fifth wheel, I would get it where I wanted, put the button back, and these pins would come back out and lock in the position where they were supposed to be to where it needed to be. It's an air ride, it's an air system, so I'll check my airline to make sure there's no cracks, damages, or abrasions. Okay. Okay, pause it.